Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Before we jump into today's conversation, a special thanks to PM Power Consulting for encouraging and supporting this show right from the start. With over 1,000 person-years of collective experience, PM Power has helped many organizations, teams, and individuals chart out their own journeys of excellence and make progress. Thank you, PM Power. Now, let's move to today's episode.
I'm in conversation with Mathangi Sri Ramachandran, co-founder of YuVerse. Today, she is a fantastic individual talking about her experience of exploring different facets of AI and how she's built it right from financial services to customer experience, and have written or author of 100 plus patents in the customer experience space, and now creating a extremely human experience using AI and solving problems in the spaces that are relevant. You will hear her determination and resilience oozing out. Listen on. Hi, Mathangi. So happy to have you here.
Thanks, Gayatri. Thanks for having me here. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, welcome to the Software People Stories. And you are probably one of the distinguished guests who have like 100 patents, and you are also a AI guru, so to speak. So I am looking forward to this conversation. I want to understand what got you here, and how did you get interested in this space. Before we forget, Mathangi Ramachandran is a CEO of YuVerse, and she's also a data scientist for UB. And I will let you give your introduction, Mathangi.
Yeah, thanks, Gayatri. Pleasure to be here. So I'll start with an introduction. So I describe myself as heart soul into AI, and I've been all my career building solutions that creates meaningful impacts to enterprises and the ecosystem. So one way I think about myself is somebody beats me down and say should never say the word AI. I'll still come back and say, what can I do in AI? Currently, I'm the CEO co-founder of YuVerse, which is a last mile AI company. Last mile because the frontier models have done their bit. I think there is a wide space in how do you take the frontier models to solve actual outcomes. So we actually work with the final workflows, the human part of the workflows, etc. Blend that into an AI transformation journey. That's what YuVerse does now, and it does it across the life cycle. So it could be we started with banking, but then we did insurance, real estate, retail, etc. But the crux is the problem. The problem guides the AI solutions for us, and it could be in any area of AI: vision, voice, text, video, or on machine learning models, etc. But we bring them together to solve a customer outcome.
Wow. So you have to tell me how you got started in this space. I know you started in Citi in the financial space when you
started in Genpact.
Yeah?
I started the career started actually with TCS, and then I moved to G Consumer Finance. Then it became Genpact.
Okay. Yeah, tell me more about it. I think a lot of our listeners want to understand how the career graph started, and what took you to the next step in terms of AI and data analytics and
Yeah, so I think I have been in the field of data science for more than 20 years now. And if you take AI itself, though, it's people think anything with a transformer becomes AI and anything else is not. So that's not what it is. In fact, the origins of the current day machine translation or the current day even conversational bot starts somewhere in the 1950s itself. So it's been a field that has been coming up for a while, and we are talking about the deep learning models in the 1990s. Word data science being coined in one of the papers in 2000. So it's been a very long field. It has its hype at this point in time, and I'm not complaining about the hype, but the thing is, he is very, very old. And decisioning through data, which is the crux of data science, which fuels AI, is also very, very old. Talk about it from the times of Arthashastra, etc. Coming to my career, I think the first inspiration for me to join this field came in from an interview that GE did in our campus in NIT Trichy. And they said something like, so for example, if GE is going to launch windmills in India, which are the areas that they should go for, will be driven by data, right? So that's the example I remember in my head. And the driven by data became a big theme for me. Like, if we can make decisions happen through data, and I wanted to be in that. That's what I wanted to connect. I wanted to be in a field of decision making, but more scientific decision making. That's what has attracted me in the field, and that continues to me in various aspects. Right? So how can we make intuitive decisions move away and then make it more data driven? That's my fundamental reason why I came into the field. And then GE Consumer Finance happened, and one led to another, and then it was a career I really loved, because you are doing a lot of analytics and you're coming up with a lot of insights, and then the insights kind of bring in a lot of actions into an enterprise. That can, whether it is a marketing mailer we were sending, as part of my HSBC experience, or risk scorecards we were cutting in some of the banks that I had worked. The one thing that stood out is, how can large scale data improve decision making? And in a way, the crux of it is also democratization, because if you're going to make decisions human led, then there is a lot of bias that can creep in, and there could be a lot of judgments that can happen, which machines over a period of time will stop being that, right? Initially, machines could be biased because you're training them on certain historic data, but then there are ways for machines to get out of the bias. Humans can never get out of bias in decision making, right? Humans can never get out of judgments. You can train a machine to get out of bias. You can train a machines to get out of judgments. You definitely, there is a way out. So I think that's what is kind of keeping me going in this field, the ability to make large scale decisions or large scale human driven processes much more unbiased, much more democratized. I think that's the theme. So even now, I'm very, very passionate about conversational bots that we run. Part of YuVerse, we run a huge volume of conversational bots. And only in conversational bots, I've been there in the last 10 years or so, and many of my patents also happen in that area. What kind of pulls me into this is, see, machines can do empathy at scale. For all of them, for all those who argue machines are not empathetic, right? Machines can be empathetic at scale. Humans can never be empathetic at scale, right? So it's not, if you're doing 200 conversations a day, 200 conversations a day, that's a long number, right? That's a big number for anyone to do conversations, and you can't be empathetic in those conversations. You can't be, it's humanly impossible to deliver a picture perfect conversation every time, despite whatever the other person is saying. Today, because of the LLMs and the field that has improved quite a lot, um, it's uh, it's really difficult to replicate machine conversations by humans. You need some level of training to replicate that at scale. So I think that's what keeps me in this, and that in a way reduces a lot of biases. Let's say if it's a collection call, and then you're talking to a customer who's not paid, and then these are calls we keep listening. The people say, "No, I'll commit suicide, and I'll commit, this has happened, that has happened, etc." Machines can still listen to it and still get their way across, whereas with humans, it can go in any direction from there. Right? There have been conversations where we have heard when one said that he'll commit suicide, then the other guy said, "You have been saying this for a long time. You have not done it." So, right? So,
Oh my
uh,
God.
yeah. Because see, and I wouldn't blame human agents as well on this. The imagine someone leave 200. Let's say somebody is doing even 100 conversations a day, 100 very tough conversations, challenging conversations every day, and each guy is going to say, "I have lost my job and hence I'm not able to pay. Somebody broke their leg and somebody passed away in their home." These are very, very common reasons why people say that they're not able to pay, and you are constantly listening to the negative thing. You're constantly negative, or some people get very irate. The irritation comes on the agent. So how do you just cannot handle those? So it's very possible that people react in the ways that I said that they will react, and a very low low is what conversation could have been easily solved gets into friction very fast. Says, for example, someone says, "Why have you not paid?" And then says, "Why are you asking me again and again? I've told you not to call. You have not paid, that is why I'm calling." Right? But who told you to call me? I will anyway not pay. Now what will you do? No, you will. So I'm just giving you the look at the tone raise even in my voice, right? So that is very, very possible in human conversations, right? It escalates very fast. Whereas machines can still keep it down. They can still say, "I hear you. We will, sorry for the trouble, but look here, we're calling you here because you have not kept your commitment and we have no other choice but to call you." That brings the tempo down, right? So, just giving an example of why this field fascinates me. The possibilities are enormous. And with LLMs coming in, it's an idea today and an outcome tomorrow, right? That's the world we're living in.
I think whenever I look at some of the biases in terms of be it gender, be it race,
Hmm.
a lot of these biases are not necessarily due to AI, right? It's due to the training data that is being built in. That
Yeah,
is what
yeah,
I used to think. But what you're saying is making sense, because if you want somebody to be empathetic, even humans have our own problems and empathy.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't come out automatically, and it makes sense to have that additional layer,
Correct.
which is like a companion, and
Yeah.
to also do some level of stress testing and stuff. So, talking about you had done your MBA, right, in NIT Trichy, and from NIT Trichy to Genpact to TCS, what what is making Mathangi do be in data analytics as well as be it in this sort of a cutting edge field? What motivates you?
The possibilities, right?
Okay.
It's just the possibilities of building a better world,
Mm.
the world possibilities of turning things around. Like I said, my own little contribution in democratizing the access for technology, in making sure, in a way, reducing biases, making judgments, making decisions less about judgments and more about data. That creates a better world, right? Why does judgments have to be? Why does decisions have to be judgment free? Why does decisions have to be unbiased? Because it just creates a better world. Because if you have better decision making capability, then you can do financial inclusion, for example, much deeper, right? Because that's where, and once financial inclusion becomes deeper, then the access to money is there for a lot of more deserving people. Society overall improves, right? And how do you get better financial inclusion? By better decision making, right? And not be afraid of somebody's fear or somebody's biases or somebody giving a loan to them because they know them for a long time. Coming out of it and then scaling up the finance and the spread of money across society is one of the fundamental factors of societies get better in itself, right? Just took an example of finance like that in anything, like let's say healthcare, and you want the diagnosis and treatment to be available across the villages. And today, AI can do that. Can take anything out to any corner and make it very useful. Another use case that I've been thinking of late is on therapy. Interestingly, that's where the journey of data science also begins. Journey of NLP begins there. on the chatbots and everything. The first chatbot was a therapy chatbot called Elisa in the 1950s. So if you think about it now, let's say a woman in a village who has no access to therapist and psychiatrist and everything, abuse is common, right? So going through a domestic abuse today can tap into a phone, talk to a one of these LLM models, or let's say if somebody builds a bot on this, she can safely talk to the bot knowing it's a machine, as long as we kind of tell her that's a machine and it's never going to talk your secrets to anyone else. Even if it is going to be somebody in their village or anything, she always runs the risk of someone going and telling about it to someone else, right? So, and hence people don't speak up. Now, if there's a machine and that can give them alternatives on how they should deal with the current situation, she gets to benefit, and without anyone knowing at a very, very negligible cost. That's a boon that no one could have imagined, right? Who would imagine in a tier 3 city in India, or or in a village in some hinterland, somebody is able to pick a phone and talk to a machine and be happy with it, and in their language, yeah, which understands their cultural nuance, is something massive for the society to happen. Right? So I think that's what keeps me going about it. The possibilities of how you can really make meaningful differences around you. I think that's something it's really out there. So earlier, if there is an idea that we think it will take that time to fruition for a long time to see that difference happen. It's today you think, tomorrow you deliver, day after you go live, right? It's that kind of a situation we are in, and for me to love the job more, I don't think there has been a better time than this.
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps with the story that you're telling in terms of having the access to
Yeah,
various services, right? Democratizing, like I mean, you
correct.
mentioned about, I mean, having the world is flat. You have access to various things, and as long as there is a awareness that
Yeah,
this data is not going to get construed, or there is a
correct.
ethically,
Correct.
this AI is going to be used ethically and for the
Yeah,
set purpose. I think that is the key thing. If
yeah, yeah.
everybody uses that rather than using it for I mean purposes of different motives, no, that is going to very
Correct. Correct.
uh,
Correct.
so Mathangi, you have worked in different parts of the edge computing. I know as part of 24/7, you were working as a data scientist, building the data framework. You were also working UB in similar. You mentioned about last mile delivery in UVerse as well. What what is that? And with PhonePe also, you were a data scientist working in that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, in these various roles that you have worked, what is that most hardest role that you have played so far, which has been very difficult to crack?
More than hardest, I would say more impactful. I think being meaning it's absolutely yours at this point in time, because I not only get to build these, but also kind of take them to the customers and to the enterprises where the rubber meets the road, right? So definitely yours has been the most impactful one. From that perspective, be it replacing telecallers with bots, or be it replacing, making an underwriting process better, or be it, let's say, claims processing better so people get claims faster. I think the few reasons why this is the best so far is one, of course, my role where I'm incentivized to make sure my solutions see the merit of the day, and that's something I'm super happy about, and gives me a lot of perspectives. I meet a lot of people, meet a lot of enterprises who want to get into the AI journey, so gives me a place to kind of help them in their AI transformation. And that's one part of the story. Second, I'm sitting in a tailwind of AI, right? And I don't think I've waited all along on the sidelines in a way for AI to come center stage. Today, the tables are turned because of LLMs, where the board is asking the people to adopt. So everyone has it's good and bad in a way, but every enterprise, the board is asking them to tell them what they have done through AI and what is the impact and what is the number that they have moved, in a way that forces a lot of use cases that does not need AI and does not have a merit, but in a lot of cases, it forces people to think on what they can transform. So from that perspective, also both on terms of impact and the propensity to make the impact, I think yours happens to be the role on this. Harder, anything would be hard. I think the more you grow in leadership, you should expect 90-95% of your days are very hard and test you and ask you questions on your purpose, on why you are even doing what you're doing, kind of things. It pushes you to the edge. But if there are those 5% of the days that gets you the impact that you're living for, I think then the 95% of hardness is worth it.
I often tell this to myself, saying, you most of the 80-85% of the time you constantly keep working on something, so that the rest of the 10-15% of the time is more pleasurable. And
Yeah,
and of course we all like those aha moments. So
yeah.
in your career, right, if you look at your career graph, Mathangi, what are the few, I mean, highlights that decisions that you have taken for yourself? Any stories there you want to share?
Sure. See, I have been guided by only one thing. I think good or bad, I don't know. But one thing I know is I've been always guided by to find an opportunity that gets me to make the maximum impact. I have made my career decisions based on that. I have left few places despite a big compensation and a big lifestyle. I have taken certain decisions to move forward from those places uh, to get to a canvas, to get to a place that can give me a bigger canvas. So I'm a person, you give me a handkerchief, I'll make it into a huge blanket and then paint on it. So for me, that canvas is very, very important. Canvas to show an impact and make a difference with data science and AI. So I think the only guiding principle for me had been, figure out a place where you can be, figure out a place, opportunity, ecosystem, call it anything, where you can be more useful to the world around you. I think that's the inherent ways I have made my decisions. Largely that's how I made my decisions, and I think, and I'm in a way, it kind of helps me grow as a professional because I get to learn a lot of things. I get to take more challenges. I get to solve more problems, right? So that's how I have, done. That's my primary decisions on my career has been. The second part is, in a way that, especially for women, one thing my mother has told me this many times, like, keep your job, right? Whatever it is, keep the job. I think, and there are a lot of things we come across in life, a lot of stages where you feel guilty for leaving the child at home, and then you feel guilty for traveling. I mean, I travel crazy at this point in time, but you feel guilty for traveling, guilty for feel guilty for your own health. But one thing that I think my grit is on, whatever it is, I'm not going to compromise my career. In a way, unabashedly so. A lot of women hesitate in saying even what I'm saying because I've been through those shoes. Like, people say, okay, I'll have my career around my, domestic responsibilities. I think I've solved it always the reverse. So worked out things at my home so that, the career can keep running. I think that's my second big. It takes a lot of grit. It may look simple from outside, but it takes a lot of grit to have a long career. And yeah, I'm 21, 22 years experience. So 22 years is also very long
I
for
agree.
a.
No, I'm actually 20, I'm coming 29 years now. And I completely agree in terms of the number of stumbling blocks that keep coming. And the society also puts a very different kind of a pressure as a mother, and a lot of it is in my view, self-inflicting. and not necessarily society is putting.
Correct.
What you said
Correct.
is right in terms of if you make a decision, the universe actually colludes to
Yeah.
make it happen. I believe truly in terms of ensuring as long as you keep doing what you want to do and keep asking that dua or the blessing, I have a feeling, I believe that things will start appearing for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what is the third? Is there any other
No,
metric
no,
that
definitely
in terms
grateful for all the opportunities that I have got.
Mm.
Grateful for the mentors that have been in my career, and grateful for support from a lot of organizations, of course, for my family, right? Without my husband, I'm not standing here.
Mm.
Without my daughter understanding my need of travel, I don't get to exist in a career. So I think definitely those are by far needed for you to have anything to do with career, right? Without your home supporting, you can go with any headwind, right? You can have a headwind of people in the company, they are against you, whatever that it could be, or it could be that there are headwinds on your skill set, that it is no more valued, etc. But if there is a headwind from your home, right, where there is a resistance for you to continue to work, is very, very unlikely it can happen. Nothing can exist without the support of the place and the people whom you care about, and whose opinion you matter most. I think that's very important for any woman to kind of sustain a long career. The support from the family can never be understated.
Very true. I have to I'll probably give some kudos to your family at this point in time. And any other aspects of your decision making that you want to give in terms of your career? Uh, I know you are based out of Bangalore. Was there any point in time in terms of decision making, in terms of whether I want to work out of Bangalore, Pune, US? Any point in time
I
that
think
was
that's a conscious, definitely, that's a conscious decision. So once we settled in Bangalore, we had a home. My mother-in-law started, living with us. Now my mother is also living with me. I think there is a lot of times I get an offer, so to say, to go to the valley, or to look at a different place, etc. Many, many times it has come across. I've been very sturdy on one thing, that I'll be rooted here in Bangalore, and whatever now, from that's the constraint that I'm putting on. From that constraint, whatever works, we'll work it around. And I'm ready to travel and everything, but never move base. That's been something that I've been super clear through the years. It's not like opportunities where rare, God willing, opportunities have been pretty forthcoming to change the place, right across the globe. But I think I have stayed. That's my decision, because I didn't want to move the family around and everything. So that's one thing that I have lived by, to not move around, travel, but keep the base same.
those are very important ones that often we don't speak about a lot, right? In terms of decisions, that personal space, what you want to do. And often everybody talks in about technology, what decision that you've taken, or mentors are definitely spoken about. But things like location and things like which
Yeah.
space that you have deepened yourself, that's very
Yeah.
cool. I love the part that you've done so much of patents. How do you get the time, Mathangi, in terms of filing the patent and following it up? Because I have filed as well, couple of two patents I had filed back in when I was working with Cisco System. But the amount of paperwork that you have to keep filing was
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
high. But I'm very impressed that you were able to manage them, manage 100 of them.
No, this is purely the company I came from, right? There was a definite focus on patents, and they had encouraged filing innovation as a way of living, and you protect innovation through patent. So I think the entire credit on this goes to 24/7 and that ecosystem that they had created to file a lot of patents and encourage innovation that way. That place I worked is called as Innovation Labs within 24/7. So I think the company was very true to what they said as the spirit, and hence the spend on patents are expensive. So the spend on the patents have been encouraged rather than discouraged, and there was counsel, there was proper processes on how you can file things. I rarely come across organizations which encourage innovation at scale, and they did, and I was very fortunate to be part of that journey and learned, what stands out as an idea. See, sometimes you can come with a mathematically superior model, but then they won't count as patents. Patents has to be something, very technology, like it has to be meaningful. It has to be, it should have novel novelty in it, and it should be executable in a way. So to find, so some of these things, and the prior art should not have something else that is very similar to it, etc. In fact, different organizations take different calls on prior art. So you can go ahead with the angle of, because if you do a prior art search, that can count as you infringing on somebody's idea, and hence your patent can get rejected. So we took those calls also at some point, depending on the use case, that whether we want to go with prior art or not prior art, etc. So those are some of the things I learned from there while filing. But without a financial support, you can't have a lot of patents coming in. And of course, the business you operate in. So that should be very patent friendly in a way, right? So it should have so we were largely operating in the area of customer experience, right? And customer experience, what all we could change is an area that was constantly coming up, and hence there was a lot of potential to think of different ideas, different innovations. A weekend you get an idea, and then you do that. So I think those are some of the things that happened organically in that ecosystem.
Wow. It's a great story, yeah? And particularly with such a, also having that kind of an environment of from a financial support as well as a team who's also interested to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not very well encouraged as a team. I think that's the environment, the ecosystem, as well as the financial resources. I think awesome, Mathangi. So I will probably stop here, and I want to, if there is there any advice that you want to give to our listeners? We get about 2,000 to 5,000 listens immediately after we drop the episode.
Oh.
And mostly we have across the globe, our listeners are. And anywhere from starting their career to software professionals who are mid-career as well as senior executives. What is that couple of advice that you will give as an AI professional? How they have to leverage or scale their systems?
So I'll do it in two parts. One, for young girls who are coming into the workforce, who will be watchers of your program. Definitely have grit in your career, if not anything else. Just the ambition, the grit. First, the grit to survive, right? Then the grit to grow. But the grit to survive, because look for a lot of headwinds as women start career, right? It's going to be, and some of the headwinds, like you said, are going to even self-inflicted also. And some of them are, today we got to admit we are living in a society filled with biases. And those biases are going to show up everywhere, whether it is your own circle of your personal relationships, or if it's going to be professional relationships at workplaces, the biases will show up, and you are kind of going through the biases, and you see biases lesser at you start, and then the biases go up as you go up, right? So that is something that I wasn't aware of it, right? When I was kind of doing it. So when the first bias hit me, it shook me, right? And hence, to be aware what are you signing up for will make you a little bit more resilient than what you are. And resilience is the crux of a long career. Just don't give up. That's one. More for women, because that's where the headwinds are higher. The second, for AI professionals, see, AI, LLMs, data science, machine learning models, or anything else tomorrow, one thing does not change: the problem, right? So have whatever you are doing, have an empathy for the person who has the problem and you're solving for that problem, right? You can be the person as well, but have an empathy for the problem. The problem should guide the solution. Not that I have a solution, I'm going to go and fit a problem. Right? That never works. What works is, hey, solve a problem and I can relate with that problem. I can empathize with that problem. Let me go solve the problem with the skill sets that I have. Will take you far, far ahead, right? So finding that problem that you want to solve can be 90% of your career. We don't need to jump into this is what it is, etc. But let the problems, let you find the problems. For that, exposure is important. You speaking with a bunch of people is important. You working, going out there to seek what is there that is there for me to solve is very, very important. So I think at any stage in your career, that you are in your beginning stage or you are a senior executive in an organization, having an empathy for what you're trying to solve will solve most of the problems.
Thank you. I think we started the whole conversation with empathy in AI, and we ended up talking about empathy as an advice and resilience, grit to. This is a fantastic conversation. I enjoyed every bit of it, Mathangi. Thank you so much for doing it. And I know you've been super busy and appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Gayatri. Really enjoyed the conversation. I think very different conversation that I have had. Nobody especially has asked me on location and everything. Thank you so much on this.
Appreciate it. Bye. Have a good one.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.